For tomorrow night, I really think we should get there for 5 o'clock at the latest.
But the fireworks don't start until 9:30.
I know, but I want to get there as soon as possible so that we can...
Apartment was rented to one man, Alan Brown. The local police are canvassing, but it looks pretty classic. Kept to himself, neighbors don't know much about him.
He was killed in the blast?
Yeah, 4 people were taken to the hospital with cuts and bruises. 1 person has a concussion. Could have been a lot worse, I guess, although we don't really know what he was doing.
First thing we need to figure out is this a meth lab accident or bomb making?
Well, he wasn't careful, whatever it was. What you got?
Hydrogen peroxide.
I don't see any pseudoephedrine. I'd say it looks more like explosives than meth.
This is from a beauty supply store. Let's get a picture of Brown and canvass the local beauty supply businesses.
Receipts. Looks like he'll be making a few stops with this shopping list. I'm Special Agent Williams. This is Special Agent Barber with the FBI. We're investigating the explosion that happened at the Belvedere Apartments last night. We'd like to ask you a few questions. Do you recognize the man in this photo?
Wait a minute. Was he a terrorist or something? You know, I knew something wasn't right about this guy.
We're not sure what he was just yet.
What wasn't right?
Well, for one, I never seen him before, and I know most people in this business from this area, you know.
And what was he looking to buy?
Oh, he wanted hair developer, and he asked for the highest volume.
Hair developer. That's a high concentration of hydrogen peroxide?
Yep. Volume is beauty salon talk. The higher the volume in hair developer, the more the peroxide.
Did he want anything else?
Oh, yeah, he also wanted a lot of acetone, you know, nail polish remover. And then that's when I started thinking, something must be up with this guy. So I started asking him simple questions like, what shop did he work at, or where did he get his training? I thought, this guy must do a whole lot of dye jobs to need that much peroxide.
You didn't like his answers?
Honey, he didn't give answers. He just said, never mind about the acetone. And then when I said I needed to see some ID if he wanted to pay by credit card, he pulls his credit card away and pulls out a whole wad of cash. Did he, I mean, no one got hurt, right?
Yeah, I recognize him. Is this about that explosion? How did you know he was here?
We found a receipt and a lot of shopping bags.
Makes sense. He bought a lot.
Yes, ma'am. Do you remember what he wanted?
I do. He was over by the pool sanitizers, and he just stood there for a really long time looking at the backs of bottles. He'd pick one up and put it back, then the next one, same thing. I could tell he was looking for something and not finding it, so I asked him if he needed help. He said he needed a pool cleaner with hydrogen peroxide. I told him, you mean the chlorine-free shock over there. He said, no, I want the one with hydrogen peroxide. I said, that is the one with hydrogen peroxide. The chlorine-based chemicals don't have peroxide, but they can clean just as well. But he didn't even look at the chlorine-based shock after I said that. He said thanks and started looking at the back of chlorine-free bottles, the ones with hydrogen peroxide. I asked if he needed any more help, and he said no. He said he just needed the strongest stuff. His pool was really bad.
Was there anything else?
Most of the time, people have their pools open way before the 4th of July. I thought that was kind of strange, but I figured he'd have a week to get it all set. But what made me remember him was that I asked him about the size of the pool, and he was vague. He just said it was big and that he needed a lot of stuff. I don't know any pools in this area that need that many bottles. He took nearly everything off the shelf.
I see.
I mean, I knew it was strange at the time, but I didn't know what to do about it.
It was maybe 4 days ago. It was the day my normal floor man was out. I don't always spend as much time with customers.
But you spent time with him?
Yeah. I remember his hands especially.
His hands?
Yeah, he had these blotchy areas on the backs of his hands, like he'd been working with some serious bleach.
Or peroxide?
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, he was looking to buy a pretty large amount of fertilizer, in particular ammonium nitrate. I asked him if he had a dry place to store it, and he said he did. Then I asked him how many acres he was looking to take care of, and he said he wasn't sure. He was working for somebody else. Well, who is it? I asked. Maybe I know him. And he gives me this mind-your-own-business look.
Really friendly guy, huh?
Yeah. So I try a little small talk with him, ask him how he'd deal with all the clay that's in the area's dirt. He kind of ignores the question. Says he's not worried about it, that it's not his problem. He didn't seem to know too much about farming or agriculture, or at least he didn't want to talk about it. If I didn't ask a question, I don't think he would have said a word except to make the purchase.
Well, asking questions definitely helps identify suspicious behavior. We actually have this poster that gives your employees helpful hints on how to identify and handle any strange situations.
Oh, that's helpful. Yeah, I'll put it up in the break room and talk to my employees about it. You know what's really strange? I asked him where he wanted the ammonium nitrate fertilizer delivered. He said he'd send a rental truck for it. The truck still hasn't come.
I wouldn't hold your breath. The initial search of Brown's computer is done. He had a home improvement store and a pharmacy on the west side of town.
That's not surprising. Those places have lots of chemicals and equipment that could make improvised explosives. Actually, there are several different types of stores where terrorists could buy that kind of stuff. Brown could have been even more discreet about the ones he did buy.
Agreed. Still, it's weird. That guy stuck out in one way or another to everyone we spoke to, but not enough to call the authorities.
Well, it's tricky. Nothing illegal was happening, and we always want to give people the benefit of the doubt.
The trick is, after the suspicious encounter, you should write down details about the transaction, like what time it was, what he bought, and any information that might help identify the customer, like name, physical description, license plate, phone number, anything.
Right. Then they can share that information with law enforcement. They can call their security manager if they have one, or they can call direct.
Reporting suspicious activity can be confidential. It doesn't mean that you're accusing anyone. It just means something doesn't feel right.
That's it. Trust your gut. Then let investigators figure out if there's anything to worry about. Even if it was nothing, at least you were being careful.
It was a lot safer for everyone else in the community.
I'm Bob Jones, Assistant Director of the FBI's Weapons of Mass Destruction Directorate. The video you just saw highlights the vital role that the private sector serves in the FBI's effort to counter terrorist attacks. Your expertise and experience is essential to our increased understanding of potential WMD threats in the United States. Everything you do to control your oversight of chemical dangers makes everyone safer, and your willingness to report suspicious activity to law enforcement is critical to securing the country against these threats.